Hello, everyone, and welcome to the XR Update Podcast. It is amazing to have you here with us. My name is Alex VR. I am the perpetual host, I suppose, of this magnificent podcast. And joining me today for his first appearance on XR Update is Will from Impact Reality. What's up, Will?
Hey everyone, it's so good to be here. I love that intro, by the way, like just everyone popping in and coming in and like Skiva's like in the middle. It just brings everyone together.
Dude, so Todd Jackson, our very own Todd Jackson here at Impact, put that little like Avengers intro together, and
Yeah.
we all like loved it. As soon as we saw that, we were like, "Oh my god, that's so good, dude! We're absolutely using that. That's going on the podcast." All of that. So I guess we're gonna have to get an updated version with your beautiful smiling face in there at some point, right, Will?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sweet, Will. Where are you? Where are you joining us from, my good sir?
So I'm based in Kyoto, Japan. I've been in Japan living abroad for about 13 years now, and so quite a while from the U.S.
Indeed. What time is it where you're at?
Right now it's a 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, good morning,
yeah.
sir. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for having your morning coffee and breakfast with XR Update. We appreciate that. And thanks for being in Japan, because I feel like that is incredibly useful for all of us.
Yeah, it's so great to meet with like Japanese VR devs because like they have such a different perspective on the VR industry and like how they see it and like what they're aiming for, and it just to like help bridge that gap with Impact Reality is amazing.
Dude, that is amazing. And I would love to come to Japan. In fact, Japan is on like my short list of places to go to visit, just for fun. But if I can find like a work related reason to just have to go to Japan, then I guess I would be okay with that too.
Well, you can just stay at my place for like a month.
Boom. Say no
There you
more.
go.
I'm on the way. Clear off the couch. Get me a inflatable mattress because Alex is showing up. So today we have some amazing developers waiting in the wings to chat with us. Of course, the EPYKA team will be joining us here to discuss their brand new adventure game, which just came out last week. And I'm really excited to get into that. But I was thinking, Will, if it's okay with you, before we do so, maybe we can touch on a couple of news updates from the XR Update X account.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Beautiful. Let's do that. It's like, honestly, it's like difficult to call it X when it's XR Update. It's like, oh, the XR Update X account. Like I almost said Twitter there, but I'm trying to call it X, you know, like everybody's like saying, oh, I'm only going to say Twitter forever, but I'm trying to call it X. So anyway, I do. Straight from the XR Update Twitter account, which, by the way, if you aren't following XR Update on Twitter, this is your sign. Please follow us and check out all these amazing news updates that our amazing editor, Wes Dillon, makes sure to post for all of us. And the first one that we want to touch on today is the fact that Future Lab have announced that they will be ceasing support for Power Wash Simulator VR, citing financial concerns and reallocating their VR team to ensure job security for the company. The game and the DLC remain available with no plans on delisting, but support for this title has ceased. What do you think, Will?
Well, first of all, I think it's amazing that they've already committed to not delisting any of the DLC because Power Wash Simulator like VR, they have such amazing collabs. And like I know from experience that licensing, all of that stuff is quite tricky, and to keep that available for players is simply amazing.
Right? Like SpongeBob. Like there's a SpongeBob world in this game in VR. Like, is there any other SpongeBob representation in the VR space? Like, I feel like this is it.
There was the roller coaster, right? I think.
Oh, did Epic Roller Coasters do SpongeBob too?
I think so.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? Now that you're saying it, that does sound like it makes sense. But you know something interesting. I think maybe, arguably, my most liked tweet of all time was a comment from Power Wash Simulator when they had like an announcement trailer for the game, and in the comments, I simply wrote "needs VR." And that comment of mine got more likes than anything else that I've ever gotten. And then like a year later, this game came out. So I personally feel like it's basically like I'm the reason why this game came to VR.
You know,
because of my comment. Yeah. So I almost feel a little bit responsible for the fact that this game won't be getting the continued support as well. But hats off to Future Lab for making this happen, like bringing this game into VR at least, and supporting it for as long as they did, because I know there's a lot of people who absolutely love this game, who kill their headsets inside of this thing.
It's such a therapeutic game to just like sit there and clean and just like watch as like the scenes around you transform into like these beautiful spectacles.
I mean, do you think that this is like, do you think we need to be concerned, like being VR industry professionals, like, is this evidence that XR isn't worth the money, or, do you have any like thoughts on in that realm, or do you think this is just kind of like an unfortunate circumstance and, everything?
I think it's just an unfortunate circumstance. I'm very happy that like Future Labs has committed to like keeping their devs on board, because there's so many studios, especially in the games industry as a whole right now, which are just like unfortunately closing. They're unable to help relocate their staff. But to have that foresight of being like, hey, this isn't working for us right now. We have very talented devs. Let's keep them. Let's get them on new projects, and then in the future they can bring them back to XR and when the timing is right.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. So, shout out to the Future Labs team. Thank you guys for doing that. And we wish you all the best of luck. We'll be, of course, keeping an eye on that company because we know that they believe in XR. And I'm sure when they have an opportunity, they'll jump back in and continue making awesome stuff. For our next little bit of news, I want to touch on Pimax. Pimax has just gotten $13 million of funding to accelerate R&D for their PC VR headsets and to expand their operations in the United States and Europe. The funding aims to bolster their position in the rapidly growing high-end VR hardware market. I got to be honest, Will, this surprised me. There has been a couple of times throughout the years where I've been looking at Pimax and I've seen them like make a move or release a product, and I'm like, oh no, like this might be the end of Pimax, like, or product didn't take off in the way that they thought it would, and I'm thinking to myself, man, is this company going to be able to make it still? And I think this is evidence that they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. I think it's truly admirable that they've been able to continue on for so long. The reception has been pretty mixed with some of their hardware, but they remain committed to XR, and they keep on innovating and trying out new forms.
Right. And just pushing the I guess the specs, right? Like that's what Pimax is known for, is just like pushing the specs so hard, like trying to get those numbers up, higher resolution, higher refresh rate, higher FOV. And I guess, at this point they're as qualified as anybody to continue to push that. At CES, they were showing off the Pimax Crystal Super, which I didn't have an opportunity to try, but when I walked by the booth, I saw Linus Tech Tips in the chair, which is pretty amazing. And I saw he put out a video, and I'm pretty sure it was overall positive about his experience with this, which is amazing. And side note, I actually saw Linus Tech Tips was on Jimmy Fallon recently. And he was showing off like the X-Real glasses and stuff like that. Amazing. Like Linus Tech Tips, he has 16 million subscribers on YouTube, which is just a staggering amount. So for him to come through, and I know he's kind of been a little bit bearish on VR over the years. So for him to have an experience with the Pimax headset and say, holy crap, like my VR setup is frail compared to what these guys are doing. Like, I think that's pretty good. So at this point, I'm like really rooting for Pimax. I would love to see them like step up, like solve any of the issues that they have at the company and like really start crushing it. Because at this point, I'm feeling like they deserve it.
Yeah. Actually, Linus did have a video with CES where he talked about different VR headsets that were on the show floor. And he had really good things to say about the Megane, which I think you might have. Did you try that? The Megane, the ones that
are those
like that?
Oh, not this year. I think they had a headset here last year at CES that I did try. And that's the one with the controllers that flip around too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried that last year, but I didn't have an opportunity to try it this year.
But yeah, he had really positive things to say about that.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I I am rooting for all of these hardware companies. Like it would be amazing for us to have more options, more legitimate options. Like right now, I feel like if you're not buying a Quest 3 with your hard-earned money, you're probably making not the best decision, unless you are already well bought into the XR ecosystem and like know exactly what you want, but the Quest 3 is an amazing headset and it's such a good value. And I even think that for the primary Quest 3, not even the Quest 3S, like I think the Quest 3 on its own is the best headset that you can get for the money right now. So anyway, it would just be amazing to have some of these companies come in and really provide some awesome competition for Meta, because right now it feels like Quest is really the only option for 99% of people out there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But anyway, those are our news updates for today. Please follow XR Update on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and follow along, because we will be continuing to post news updates there, and we will continue to pluck from the XR Update X profile to share news stories here for this podcast. All right. I think it is probably a good time to shift into the interview section, or the interview portion of today's episode. And I think in order to do that, it would probably best to quickly take a look at this.
I know, buddy. I'm hungry too. I'm sorry I got you into this. I thought I could find it. According to Dad's map, it should be here somewhere. What's this? A board game? Good boy!
Please, you must set me free, for this world is already lost.
That seems to work.
We cannot let this creature escape.
The game is EPYKA, and joining us from the EPYKA team, we have Amila and Marie. Hello, Amila. Hello, Marie. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for inviting us.
All right, maybe we can get just like a quick little introduction from both of you, starting with Marie. Hi, Marie.
Hello. So I'm a game director who works as a consultant with a lot of studios, namely EPYKA is one of my longest partners that I worked with for about 2 years. I came in mid-development when they were still switching platforms and did a complete look at the design and decided to change up some things and worked very closely alongside the team ever since.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. And hello, Amila.
Hi. So I'm one of the developers that has been working on EPYKA from the beginning. And I started, my main role is like a programmer, but really when you work in such a small team, such a small indie team, you wear a lot of hats. So touch a lot of things in the game, a lot of different fields also.
Will and I know what that's like. We're on a small team ourselves. We wear many hats each. And, just because you're a programmer doesn't mean you don't have good ideas about game design or about art or about all of these things. So I'm sure that your contributions have come in handy for those things. So maybe, Amila, you'd be the one to kind of kick us off here. EPYKA, tell us a little bit about it, from like I guess like if nobody had any idea what was going on with this game, like what's the inspiration? Like why does this game exist today, and what kind of gameplay experience can players expect?
Yes, so we started EPYKA quite a long time ago. So we have been working on it for a few years, and the first concept, the first ideas about EPYKA were probably created like in 2018, so quite a long time ago. But that was a quite different game from what EPYKA is today. So it changed a lot. We did a lot of iterations. And so Singular Perception was born as a primarily VR company. So we experimented a bit in the first years, and then we decided that the games were where we wanted to be in the VR world. And so we started working creating the first concept of EPYKA. We started it as a PC VR game, so things changed quite a lot in these years. So the entire VR background, VR market changed. Everyone moved to standalone, so we had to move EPYKA to standalone. So it was quite a journey, and so we had a few, I think, core ideas from the beginning that were creating very expressive, very expressive characters, so that were capable of conveying emotions, and that you can create a sort of relation bond with them. And this is really can be really seen, I think, in our dog Jack, which is very cartoony, very expressive, but also in the other characters, Alima. And the second core idea was to create an adventure that was different from the typical VR adventure, which is very frenetic, very action oriented. We created something that is much more relaxed in pacing, that can be anyone can play, and we really wanted it to be really enjoyable by anyone. So this is something. It's like a core pillar of EPYKA.
Nice. That's great because I think a lot of people can be intimidated by VR experiences when they're new to the medium. You know, they see somebody playing something like Beat Saber or, you know, Super Hot or whatever, where their full body is in this whole thing and they're like running all over the place and they're sweating and all of that. And, you know, maybe that's a little intimidating. But this is a single player immersive experience that you can kind of sink your teeth into, that shouldn't have you sweating, that shouldn't have you like stressing or like, you know, like having like strenuous movement or anything like that. One thing that I think is really interesting about the game is the story of kind of uncovering the secrets of humanity's first civilization. Like that's something that kind of like, you know, it piques up my interest a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Was that a part of the game's conception? Like, did you know that's the story you wanted to tell, or did you know you wanted to have an adventure and then later on this kind of got introduced?
So the ancient civilization part ideas was there at the start of the game. So when we start concepting the game, I think we took a lot of inspiration instead of from video games. We took a lot of inspiration from movies. So, for example, let's think of the Disney Atlantis. For example, it's the first example that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
For a lot we took a lot of inspiration from that, and for example, for Jack, we took a lot of inspiration from, again, Disney Bolt. That is a movie about a really cute dog, and also Tintin. I'm not sure how you pronounce it in English, and so we took really a lot of inspiration from movies, actually. So we wanted to create something that was quite different, very. And in fact, I think EPYKA has this, is an adventure, but also has this great narrative component. I think Marie can talk about that better than me, because she had a lot defining. So he had like a rough story. It was quite good, but how it was narrated needed some fixing.
Nice.
And Marie helped us a lot on that side.
Yeah. Why don't you speak to that a little bit, Marie?
Yeah, so I came in and pretty much had the, you know, Earth's lost civilization, and here we have the son of the father archaeologist, you know, looking for the civilization, and then I pretty much remade almost everything else. I would say I realized that there is a couple of interesting storylines in here. There is first the, you know, who are you, who is your person, Scott, how do you get here, and then civilization, what happened to that, and then Talima, the other character, like who is she, you know, like how to unveil that, and everything just kind of came at once or just came at the end when I started. So I took these storylines, also the demon, and I just kind of spread them out like per on per throughout the game. You would uncover one thing, but then you get more information that you would be curious about. You know, every time you get an answer, a new question opens in one of the storylines, and then some storylines kind of close and reach their end, while someone else, you know, starting to become more intense, etc. So the goal was to always kind of keep the player hooked on what's going to happen next, just to have that motivation to keep exploring.
Right. You know, it's so interesting to me because it feels like as more games like Epica kind of enter the space, the lines really get blurred between like the different traditional types of media that have existed previously before XR. You know, like before there's games and there's movies, but I feel like games like Epica start to blur the line. You know, it's like almost like you're in a movie, but you're hands on at the same time. It's like a new way of telling these types of stories, and I really, really love that. Do you guys feel
Yeah.
the same? Do you kind of feel like you're blurring the lines a little bit between movie and game?
I would say like one thing that I did, I was it might be controversial decision in XR, but for me, when I played the game, it was just a given. It was that I added a voice to the main character that you are playing. And because usually in games we look at either you are playing a character or you are the character. In VR, it's such an immersive medium where it lends itself a little bit better to you are that experience, you are that character. So I kind of, but I felt like there was we wanted to get a little bit more out of the story there. We wanted a little bit more interaction. It felt a little bit lonely at times, so I kind of took that decision to like maybe gamify it just a little bit more by adding that that voice and those reactions from time to time. So I think we've been kind of threading that line throughout development, and I think we found a pretty good balance.
Yeah. Do you think they found a pretty good balance with this, Will?
Yeah, I think it's like I've played Epica a couple of weeks before it was released, and I really enjoyed it. It's like exactly the type of game that kind of appeals to me. I worked on Ruins Magus, which is another story-driven RPG game for VR, and like Epico, I just felt like was just like so fresh in like the way that they handled the interactions with Jack. It was really something cool.
The question on everyone's mind: can you pet the dog?
Yes, you definitely can.
As much as you want, whenever
Yeah.
you want, except for when he's miniature.
Oh, that's good. Which is actually really interesting. I love the fact that you guys play with perspective and scale and stuff like that. Those things are my favorite things in VR, is playing with scale and perspective and like having that freedom to like be a giant or being tiny if you need to. Yeah, it's super, super interesting. And I appreciate that you guys have kind of woven some of that into what you're doing. Was that the plan all along? Did you guys always want to have like these different style scenes or different style of gameplay, or are those things that kind of come up during the development process?
Yes, we try to find what really works best in VR. So everything related to changing scales worked really well, and this is the reason we have a lot of like miniatures you can interact with, move small doors to move the bigger door, or enter a portal that brings you in a complete different place. So these kind of things you can do them only in VR. You can have them, you can experience them in movies, in flat games. So this is where VR really shines, and we try to find this kind of experience for Epica.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a vibe. You know, I probably haven't played as much as Will has, but I've also had a chance to play Epica, and I really think you guys nailed that like Disney aesthetic. You know, like when that dog is looking at you and smiling at you, that looks like a Disney dog. Like you guys have definitely done a good job delivering on that. You know, but I feel like this game has a bit more of a broad appeal than maybe, I mean, obviously Disney has a very broad appeal, but I feel like this game is for more than people who would maybe identify with like Disney stories and stuff like that. So who would you guys say the game is like really for? Like who's your target audience for this game?
Yes, so maybe the cute graphics can make you think this is for kids. It is only for kids. This is not for kids. This is not only for kids. I mean, kids can definitely enjoy Epica, but also we are really sure also adults can enjoy Epica. So this is not the kind of like, this is not a game where there are like hardcore, very difficult puzzles or combat or things like that. It's really a relaxing experience with a slower pace that you can play as you want. So
Nice.
I think this makes Epica quite different, and this is also at the foundation of Epica.
Yeah.
And
I would like to add a comment there actually. Like the founder of Singular Perception, the dev studio, is not a gamer at all. he loves dogs and he likes adventure movies. I mean, basically.
Wow.
But he likes this game, right? And people like him will like this game. And there's no specific age group of everyone loves Epic. I think we had so far one reviewer who was a hardcore gamer who felt like this game is not for me, should have been for me, and kind of didn't like it. But for most people, they what you see is kind of what you get. It's a chill kind of puzzle experience where you explore, and it's such a welcoming space, hopefully, to a lot of
Yeah.
games.
And like it's such a good like game to just pick up and like play through in like in one day and like just enjoy the experience, just enjoy the world, enjoy the story and see how it unfolds and really dive into it. I think it's a game that you don't necessarily have to play every day, but it's a game that you definitely can experience and have a blast doing it.
And that's what I mean, like when I compare it to a movie, like because
Yeah.
when you have a great movie that you love in your life, you don't watch that movie every single day, but you do come back and revisit it when you're like, you know what, I want to go through this story again, or I want to watch this movie again because I loved it so much. So is it basically like, do you expect most of your players to complete this in a day, or is it like a couple of days? Like how long of an experience is EPYKA?
I mean, it can a good player can take between even 2.5, 3 hours. So it's definitely a shorter experience, but I think it is an experience that it's worth the time you spend on it. So
Yeah.
really, the fact that it's short doesn't mean it's not. Doesn't mean it's a bad experience. This is a great. We polish it a lot. There is a lot of quality in it. So I think that definitely an experience that I would. Obviously, I'm biased, but I definitely recommend it to anyone.
I want to add a little bit of context here as well. We hear, it is a short experience, but you have to remember, this is a new development studio. This is their debut title. They've been battling hardware that's been upgrading, a new headset from PC to, like with all of these things, right? And everything has changed all the time, and you keep investing in this game, and yet like it hasn't seen the light of day, and we kind of need to put it out there to see that the community likes this, that they love it as much as we do, for us to really, get that validation to keep exploring and keep expanding on it.
Yeah, which is really what I was going to ask next. Like, obviously, we need to see how everything goes for the studio now that the game is out there in the wild. But do you foresee like future? Like, it almost feels like EPYKA's kind of already has a bow on it. But like, is there any kind of like future roadmap or anything like that for this title, or do you think that the studio will kind of shift into new projects after EPYKA?
So first, we are very happy with the feedback we are getting from the players, because all the reviews and comments are mostly positive, really. Apart from, really, as Mary was saying, from some hardcore puzzle gamers, it seems that like everyone that is playing EPYKA is enjoying it. So we are really happy about that, and we are definitely thinking of continuing the story of EPYKA, but we don't have like official news about that. We are working on it, planning it, and we'll be ready. And when we'll be ready, and it will be soon. I really think it will be soon. We'll give you everyone news.
Cool.
Yeah, I also can tease a little bit exclusively on this podcast that
Hey.
I have made 3 drafts on continuation, and we'll see where that goes.
All right. Well, that is pretty exciting. So if you're out there listening and you're thinking to yourself like, hey, maybe I actually think I want to play this game, maybe I like it or whatever, I think you should scoop it up. And I think you should leave a review and let this amazing team know that you're looking for part 2, because I know I would love to see EPYKA part 2 come out. And I would love to continue to see what you guys can do, because there's a lot of good ideas here. It's a beautiful presentation. Like I said, it kind of has that Disney quality to it, bright and colorful. It feels good to play. And you guys fought a long and hard battle to get here, so I really want to see you guys succeed. So fingers crossed. And if you're out there listening, definitely go out and check this game out.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything that is like kind of important about this project or about the studio that you think is relevant for us to touch on before we start to wrap this thing up?
So
no pressure.
I think one thing that should be clear to our community that is that is like shipping out right now, that EPYKA has now. So it's that we really appreciate all their feedback, and we really note what they say. So if anyone has like ideas or about what they would have liked to see in EPYKA, what they really enjoy in EPYKA, what they would like to see in another episode of EPYKA, we are really open to any suggestion, and we really listen. So
Yeah,
really,
we read everything.
yes, absolutely.
They read everything. Well, everybody, please reach out to Amila and Marie after you've had a chance to play EPYKA. Let them know what you thought of the experience. Be honest with them. Give them some real feedback so that way they can take that feedback and apply it to EPYKA Part 2 because it's coming. It was confirmed here. EPYKA Part 2. I'm just teasing. But very much looking forward to it. Amila, Marie, the EPYKA team, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. Great job on the game, and congratulations on the recent release. We're really happy for you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll say goodbye now to Marie and Amila. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time. And just like that, they are gone. And it's just back to me and my buddy Will. What's up, bud?
How's it going?
Pretty good, man. I love doing shows like this. It's always so great to connect with passionate developers and kind of learn a little bit of like the behind the scenes information about how some of these games come to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think it's like I started out as a content creator and then shifted into the games industry about like 5 years ago, and like during that shift, I was like, there's just so much as like a content creator and as a player I didn't know about the game industry. That I was like, oh, this is how games are made, and like these are the challenges, these are the issues that devs are facing, and like it's so great to get a chance to speak with devs and talk about the games and like how they feel and what their perception on, because oftentimes their voices aren't heard as much.
Yeah, and I mean, as gamers, it's easy for gamers to sit by and be like, why didn't they do this, or why haven't they added this feature, or why is this taking so long, or whatever. And like the reality is that none of this is easy. There's so many hurdles that you have to jump through. I mean, just like the EPYKA team was just telling us, they started developing for PC, and then all of a sudden everything shifted to standalone, and now they have to pivot, and the space is moving so quickly that I think that's par for the course for most of the developers out there. Like they're having to kind of make decisions halfway through projects and shifting and focusing their energy and intention and kind of having to roll with the punches, so it's, dare I say, XR can be a bit of a volatile space, but certainly an incredible and rewarding one when everything kind of falls into place. Yeah,
certainly very exciting because like you get to see all these talented creators just who have against all odds done the amazing.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's going to probably do it for today's episode, Will. It was great having you on. I hope you'll join me again for another episode here in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, there you have it, everybody. XR Update Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was an absolute pleasure. And we will see you probably in a couple weeks with another amazing developer. Until then, I'm Alex. This is Will, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.